Good evening and welcome back. It's been a while since I had time to put a video together, so this one will be short but informative. Everybody will recognize my TR7. We've done quite a few segments on this, bringing it back to life. I've had it about 8 years now, and she's coming up on 75,000 miles, which means in Europe or Canada, that would be about 130,000 kilometers. So she's been a great car. We've driven the wheels off of her. She did sit for a couple of years when I first moved out rurally here, which is why we did a series on bringing her back to life. But she's been a great car. But how many TR7s do you need? See, recently my family probably thinks I lost my mind because I acquired another one. Now this one is a bit of a mess. It came to me from a gentleman who lives roughly 700 kilometers from here, and he had had the car for about 5 years. I also know the previous owner and the original owner, and up until a few years ago the car was pretty much immaculately maintained. But unfortunately, the last owner, through not having a place to keep it properly, and to be honest, I think it was a bit of a midlife crisis car, it fell into a state of neglect. Now, it's a rust-free car, which is awesome. But to give an example of how neglected, the video really doesn't show how much how dirty the car is, or how much the paint has faded out. Now, 95% of the paint is going to be recoverable. We'll be able to bring it back to just about like new. We do have a nick here that's got to be addressed with, and a few rock chips, but overall it's in pretty good shape. The top's a good example though. I spent about 5 hours cleaning and putting preservative on the top. Now, and when I say preservative, I don't mean Armor All or something like that, but a proper preservative for the top. When I got it, the top was gray and pretty obviously hadn't received any maintenance in a long time. Now it's not bad. I think I'm going to be able to get some repairs done to the top and recover it affordably. But because the previous owner decided at -30 to drop the top and go for a drive, both quarter windows snapped out. So this is a temporary patch to keep the car weatherproof, and the rear window needs buffed out in a big way, but I think it's salvageable. And I'm thinking what we'll do here is, rather than put the quarter glass back in, is have matching fabric put in, to give it more of a coupe look. At a distance, I kind of like the way it looks with those solid paints. And when I first got it, the window had been forcibly removed from the window regulator, pulling it right out of the window regulator, and did some damage. Now, I needed to make it weather tight quickly, so we made repairs, and we'll be making some more on it to get some adjustment in place. The interior got some cleaning because I needed to see where I was at, and the panels, while they're in good shape, do need some work. I'm going to have to re-dye them. Carpets are in awesome condition, but the seats, because it sat uncovered so much, the UV got to them, and underneath these seat covers is a bit of a disaster. There's no radio, which doesn't break my heart, but we will put one in it. So a lot of work to do. The fortunate part is, for the grandest extent, it's not going to be expensive work, and we're going to have a nice little car. How nice? Well, this car, I'm owner number 4, and it has a grand total of 77,000 kilometers. Now, for those of you not familiar with kilometers, that's about 43,000 miles. So overall, most of what's here can be brought back, which is great. Mechanically, The suspension seems good. The brakes seem good. Transmission solid. But the engine's going to give us some serious grief. I have never seen a running engine leak this much oil. Virtually everything is saturated. In a 700 kilometer, roughly 450 mile drive, this thing blew through several liters of oil, and it's not burning it, it's leaking. A good example is right here by the tire. I don't know what's wrong, haven't had a chance to dig that deep, but she's wounded, runs good, but it's wounded, and we have to figure out why. And every time I've walked by it for the last few days since I've got it, I've hit it with engine degreaser, engine cleaner, and brake cleaner to get all the filth busted off it. And hopefully this weekend we'll give her a pressure wash. But here's a good example. There's no rust. Absolutely no rust anywhere. Lots of dirt from lack of use and being left uncovered and just generally not being maintained. The windshield's good. So we got a lot to work with here. And I think this could be a real pretty little car. It's so nice that I think we're just going to put her back to stock. Maybe a few little tweaks here and there, some better tires, maybe an airbox system and a 2.5-inch exhaust, but that's going to be about it. And the tricky bit is I needed to rescue her, and we made a deal that made it very worthwhile. I'm not into this car for much money at all, but I don't have much money to play with, so this is a real budget rejuvenation, and we want to turn it into a nice little car. She's a pretty little car. Now, of course, I just stripped a car, so I've got all kinds of parts. I've got to replace the headlight switch. The dimmer switch. It's broken, so it leaves the headlights on all the time, so the battery's disconnected right now. We've got to fix the window. We've got interior work to do and engine work and other stuff. But I have all the pieces, which is wonderful. I also have a tonneau, a top cover from the other car, practically every mechanical piece you can think of, and I have a set of mag wheels that we're going to polish up and put some real tires on. So she's going to dress out nice. So she'll be added to our project list, but the advantage of having a pretty little TR7 convertible means I can do more to this one. And right now we're looking at a plan of through the winter, the suspension's going to be rebuilt. We're going to be adding polyurethane bushings throughout, sway bars, springs, shocks, and getting into the powertrain. This engine and transmission will come out. This is a number match car, so I'm going to save the engine and transmission. But I have 3 others to play with, so we want to get experimental and build some power into it. It also needs a little bit in cosmetics for next year. We're not going to go whole hog, but I got to do something with the seats. They're at that point, and some carpet work, and get it really nicely cleaned up again, power polished, etc. And we'll be doing all that here at Real Builds. But we're well on the way to have one very pretty nice low mileage stock TR7 that'll be fun to drive and share with family. And I'm thinking this one really needs to be a beast. And along that route, we're having chats with some friends who are into monster builds and talking about everything from a pretty standard build for a Triumph with boosted compression in the camshaft and headers and things like that, to electronic fuel injection, crank fire ignition. We're even looking at turbocharging right now. We'll have to give that one a lot of thought, because TRs weren't known for the greatest head sealing in the world, but we'd like to get this one lower in weight, stiff, stick, and get a power to weight ratio that'll let her keep up with the modern Miatas. But we'll see how it goes. Meantime, you guys take care. I wanted to give you an update on the new Resident. and let you know where we're heading. So until we see you again and have time for a chat, have a great evening. Take care.